Hey guys, this is a group of MELD representing the Friends. My name is Oliver Xu.
My name is Wang.
My name is Alex Hu.
My name is Taojun, Wanyan.
And my name is Zijian Deng.
Hello everyone, my name is Taojun and I'm part of Team MELD, and I'm gonna introduce France political platform and international commitment.
Hi, this is Oliver, and in this final project, I'm in charge of France history of economy and also fossil fuel burning, which is closely related to the climate change and greenhouse emission. And also, I'm in charge of researching the change of forestation in France and also the lifestyle and carbon footprint. Last but not least, I'm also tasked with researching the vulnerable population facing against the climate change. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jiachi Hu. I'm going to talk about availability and opportunity in the final video.
Hi, I'm Wang. I'm going to talk about the recommendation for France.
Generally, in the MELD company, I'm in charge of the research of the internet information. And in the final project, I'm in charge of the France international commitment.
Now I will talk about France's vulnerability because of climate change. The first vulnerability is a future storm frequency. The first hazard is storm. They will affect our economy, cause a loss of $1,000 billion, and for the society, the storm will kill more than 60 people, left a great deal of households without electricity, and send hundreds of holiday makers. For the exposure, they will affect because of ecologic country like France located at the western tropical Atlantic, and due to the climate change and the warming Eastern Atlantic. For the social, the housing in the disaster area are not designed to preparely for storm. And the sensitivity, the economy part, it would take twice as the money lost to recover from disaster and to anticipate the storm in the future. Availability, forest fire. In the economic side, impact the local economy and impact local farming and tourists. In the social society part, over 10,000 of campers will forced to move out of the place. The explosion, because of France's ecologic, the reason of the forest is nature, which caused by the high temperature and heat wave in the summer. Society, over 6 firemen will assigned to put out the fire. Sensitivity, the forest fire will make a huge impact of local community. People will take a long time to rebuild the place. Availability feature, hazard, ecologic. During the past 40 years, there has been a northern movement of warmer water in the northeast Atlantic, and a similar retreat of cold water to the north. Economic, lots of fish species are decreasing their range, and less than half of species that expand their range are of commercial value. Exposure, ecologic. The sea is warmer in both shallow and deeper water. Economy, increased trend will found mainly in the landing of species with shorter lifespan. Sensitivity, ecologic, a climate change induced shift from large to smaller species is through like to reduce the value of North Sea fishing now and in the future as well. Economy, it may cause the import of fish in future.
The second availability, heat wave. The hazard heat wave economy caused a loss of 4 billion of Europe in tourists in 2015. Society, the heat wave that killed 700 people in the 1 month from 29th to 5th July. The capital temperature almost hit 14 centigrade. Exposure. Ecologic heat is the result of unusual in the jet threat, which is allowed a massive region of high pressure to spread over the continent, bringing the extremely hot air from North Africa. Society. Due to the high temperature, more and more French people decided to travel to the North American and New Zealand. Sensitivity. The heat wave will affect the whole wine industry in France. The high temperature affects the high sugar content and the lower growing time.
Availability, urban heat island effect, hazard. The temperature in the city increase. Economic, spend more money on balance the temperature. Ecologic, it breaks down the regular ecosystem in the city. Exposure, social, people will turn up the air conditioner and cause more environment problems. Economy, people spend a lot of money to improve their life, so living in a comfortable environment causes them to use a lot of nature resource, which results in the increased temperature sensitivity. Economy, if the problems start to pump out, there will be lost diversity in the urban area because of the high temperature. Opportunity, tourists, ecological change, political, climate change, political alert and boost tourist enterprise like Wang tourist and withdrawing skiing tourist. Economic, in the term of international tourists arrived, France is the world's favorite holiday country, according to WTO. Tourism in France account of 9% of GDP. Exposure. Political, due to the climate change to keep the top spend at tourism. The government of France has made some change in tourism. Ecological, the warming climate brings France longer summer and enhance the quality of the grape for wine. Prospect, political. In a long run of tourists, climate change drives the government to develop more four-season tourism and contain the snow-making facility. Opportunity, improve wine industry. Ecological change, high temperature in holy season. Economic, most of winemakers has noted improvement in quality of wine for the past 10 to 20 years. The wine price is different by the quality each year. Political, environment help France 4.2 billion wine industry adapt to a hotter world. Exposure, society, a different choice of plant material, training system in the born sense for soil management to campus agriculture considering new area at higher altitude. Ecological, higher temperature lead to a faster cycle and the trend to shorter growing season and the biophysical decrease in yield. Prospect, the temperature change will lead to grape with high sugar content and lower growth time. More new area will be found in France because of weather. Opportunity for agriculture, benefit, the output of comp increase. Political, government don't need to spend actual money to help poor citizens. Social, support more food for people in need. Exposure, ecologic, because of high temperature, some crop mature periods are shortened. Political, France is an agricultural country. France grain output account for half of European food production. Prospect, in the future, France could provide a large amount of food for the world. More and more people will get out of trouble.
So we're going to talk about France's economy in two phases: pre-industrial revolution and imperialism, and post-industrial revolution and imperialism. First, before the Industrial Revolution, France's economy back then was kind of problematical and unstable. The France played a role as an important major power, and it was one of the richest in the economy. However, France's development was rather backward comparing to the Great Britain. In terms of imperialism, waterways was the main form of transportation in France. Now, let's talk about the post. After the Industrial Revolution, France's economy was sluggish, but it gradually climbed back up. In revolution, the France boosted the industries like textile to invent sewing machine. Therefore, France's development was one of the highest gross national product in major Europe. As for the imperialism, after World War II, France became highly developed in economy in Europe. When it comes to today's economy, France is the seventh highest export country in the world. Secondly, the post-war economy strategy of France proved to be successful. Last but not least, France has the lead in automotives, railways, educated labor force, etc. Everybody knows that fossil fuel have played a very important role in human history for so many years. So now we're going to illustrate the history of fossil fuel burning in a timeline. Here we go. In the 18th century, the first stirrings of the Industrial Revolution began. That is also the history of the fossil fuel burning started. In 1827, that's when the beginning of the railroad industry and the using of coal. And in 1850 to 1900, the coal production and its usage rose. And during the Great War, that is saying in 1914 and 1918, the oil industry served as a lifeblood in the nation. And after the Great War, that is in 1946, roughly May 17th, the coal industry becomes very, very nationalized. In 1957, the development of the French gas started. Initially, they import the natural gas from Netherlands, Norway, and Russia. In 1973, the French had their first oil crisis. Because the oil is too widely used among nations, the French guys has to control their export. And from 1978 to 1981, the nuclear power, as in the renewable energies, started to be very, very popular to develop in the France. And due to the history of the fossil fuel burning and thanks to their development on the renewable energies, the France CO2 emission per capita was 5.9, was much, much lower than Italy, UK, and Germany in 2011. The climate change situation will be obviously reflected on the environment around us. For example, like deforestation. So now we're going to talk about the history of the deforestation and the forest regeneration of the France. First, deforestation. Because of the Industrial Revolution, a lot of trees were cut down for the construction, facilities, and generating heat and fire. That is saying, the demand of wood had led to the deforestation. As for the forest regeneration, between the year of 1990 and 2000, the France has gained an average of around 81,000 hectares of forest per year. And between the year of 2000 and 2005, the rate of forest change has decreased by 52.7% to 0.26% per year. So in general, between the year of 1990 and 2005, France has gained like 7% of its forest cover, aka 1,016,000 hectares, which is pretty amazing. Next, we're going to talk about the situation in France in three aspects: lifestyle, carbon footprint, and climate change. For example, French citizens' growth in health has led to an increased living standard for all social groups, which leads to higher carbon footprints. For example, like commodity consumption, transportations, and taking vacation all around the nations. However, the majority of power supplied in France now has already switched to nuclear power instead of burning fossil fuels. Therefore, it results in lower carbon footprints. In addition, if we split the society into different classes, well, take a look at the upper class. They have the most carbon footprint because the lifestyle they are living, especially on the meat consumed and the transportations, which are rather high on the carbon footprints. Lastly, if we take a look at climate change in general, well, climate change did affect French people's life. The upper class would probably immigrate to some other class. However, some people would still have to stay and suffer the heat. With that being said, we are moving on to the next topic we're going to discuss today: the vulnerable population affected by the climate change. The vulnerable populations are women, poor people, indigenous people, and the vine producer. First of all, women. Well, people will be always surprised by that. They will be like, how can women be affected by climate change? Well, first of all, lack of power will constrain women's ability to adapt to the climate change. Secondly, childbreeding increases women's vulnerabilities. Also, climate change has a significant impact on securing household water and food, which are important to household women. Next, what the climate change would do to poor people are: first, heat waves that combined with urban heat island can easily result in large death. Since the poor people have less protection to themselves, this case could really happen. Secondly, the country actually has two treatments about these situations. First, it's called the Heat Health Watch Warning System since the 2003. And the second one is called the National Action Plan. What about the indigenous people? Well, because if the climate changes, the environment of the country has to be changed. Therefore, some indigenous people cannot adapt it immediately. As for the vine producer, the climate change effect is the grape's composition change, that is saying the high sugar concentrations and lower tetradables. And the country's treatment to these populations are: first, soil management. Second, go for a different choice of the plant materials. When the France is dealing with climate change, they have some trade-offs. Here's 5 examples. Number 1, reuse garbage to be renewable energy resource, but that'll cost a lot of money. Number 2, reduce using nuclear power of electricity to reduce nuclear radiation. But in trade-off, it will cost much more if they use renewable energies. Number 3, limited the discharge of factory sewage in order to protect water environment. In trade-off, it will limit the development of France industry. Number 4, to protect forest, government limited the agricultural pollution, but on the other side, it will harm the agricultural economy and the grain and yield will be problems. Number 5, due to the climate change, France has a very strict fishing policy. It can protect the water environment and the fishing species. In trade-off, it's going to hurt the fishing industry, facing against high demand of aquatic products in the markets.
So that's France's political platform, and France joined UNFCCC, aiming for establishing legally binding obligations for them to reduce GHG emission. And France wants to achieve greater energy security of energy independence, and French government encouraged people to exercise and use public transportation, and France is achieving their commitment of replacing fossil fuel energy by developing renewable energy sources, and France claimed to maintain their top position in the most decarbonized country in Europe. Next, let's talk about France's international commitments. At 1992, there's Kyoto Protocol, and at 2001, there's National Priority, and at 2008, Climate and Renewable Energy Package, we promised to there's 20% reduction in carbon dioxide by 2020, and at 2010, we reinforced the efforts to improve energy efficiency, and 2012, there should be a 40% emission reduction by 2030, and there should be 35% emission reduction by 2050. And then 2015, we have an agreement to set goal of limiting global warming to less than 2 degrees. And next, there's our involvement into it. France climate action on energy resources. We try to reduce GHG emissions by Energy Transaction Act. First, we utilize nuclear power to substitute and reduce fossil fuel consumption. And next, we installed hydropower station to generate electricity. And at 2012, France generated 90% of the electricity from zero carbon sources. That's pretty great, including nuclear, hydroelectric, and wind, which is all renewable energy. And renewable will supply 40% of French electricity demand in 2030. Well, first there's developing wind powers. In the main French electricity generator and supplier in France plans to increase its capacities, and France has become the third largest wind resource in Europe. So France just capitalized the advantage and use it to develop the power. Also, nuclear power is very important, although it's not a renewable energy, but it will reduce greenhouse gas such as carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and sulfur dioxide. And France have 55 nuclear reactors, and they drive about 50% of the electricity were from nuclear energy in 2025. And France want to make money on exporting electric to other countries because of the low cost of generating nuclear power. Besides renewable energy and new source of energy, France also have domestic carbon tax. France introduced its domestic carbon tax in 2014 to cover companies not regulated by EU emissions trading schemes, including those consuming natural gas, heating oil, and coal. 5% of France's power comes from fossil fuel, so the tax will have little bearing on electricity prices. Next is the building industry, where people won't think about building consume more energy than transportation or manufacturing, and they are one of the big GHG emitters. So France decided to make energy efficiency in home is one of the top priorities. A total of 500,000 dwellings are slated for renovation each year between now and 2017. It will create a forecast of 75,000 jobs. Also, Act seeks to promote energy-positive buildings, which produce more energy than they consume in day-to-day runnings. Public buildings will lead the way. Next, let's talk about hydroelectric powers. In France, there's a combine of 21 hydropower stations, and overall, these power stations have a maximum output of 45 megawatts. The government is now targeting 2016 for the first competitive bidding process for hydroelectric concessions. An upcoming change in hydro sector landscapes could reduce the cost of the French electricity market. So finally, let's recap it and talk about the past, present, and future of the France. France joins the UNFCCC under the situation that global warming during the 20th century is about 30% greater than average of other countries, and France committed to contribution of the EDF. Its nuclear is around 75%, hydroelectricity is around 16%, and thermal is around about 10%, and other renewable sources about 0.1%. and from regeneration started after the Industrial Revolution. Now carbon dioxide emission is more than 9.6% less than 1990 levels. Nuclear power industry roses at late 1970s. Now that 17% of France's electricity is from recycled nuclear fuel, and France serves as a model country for delegates attending the COP21. So, France did a great job to keep track of carbon dioxide and control it and fulfill their commitment.
Here's recommendations for France. The first recommendation is France could encourage consumer and business use energy more efficiently. Use energy more efficiently could decrease the temperature and provide lower price of energy. The next recommendation is educate public to reduce waste and improve waste management. Total waste production in the Europe amounted to 25 billion tons, with the rest was landfilled or burned. Here's around 600 million tons could be recycled or reused. France could also improve fuel efficiency to reduce car emission, because car emission is the most important reason of the global warming. Another recommendation for France is improve Europe's forest ecosystems. Europe is one of the few regions of the world where forest cover has increased over the last century. European forests absorb approximately 10% of Europe's annual greenhouse gas emissions. Using European Union energy label is another recommendation for France, because using energy label could help households to find out which one is better and which one is more efficiency for them. It could also save around 465 euros per year on household energy bills. Using energy label could also create around 55 billion euros in extra revenue for European companies. The last recommendation for France is using renewable energy such as wind power, water power, or solar power. The most important reason of using this power is this power have no negative affection on environment. There are a lot of recommendations for France. These recommendations could protect the environment, but these recommendations also have some financial costs, such as using renewable energy and improving waste management. This recommendation could protect the environment, but it also needs more money. It is a kind of burden for the government. This is affections for vulnerable group. The first is poor people. Using energy more efficiently means there are more energy be used, so the price of energy will be lower. Most all poor people in France are immigration, so they don't have a good job or technical skills. Lower price of energy will reduce their pressure. For women, according to research, air pollution will affect women's pregnancy, so the recommendation of reducing car emission could make the air better. A better air environment will increase the chance of pregnancy for women. The next one is elder. Air pollution could induce pneumonia easier for old men, so if the air pollution is solved, the pressure of old men's respiratory system will be eased.